Welcome back to part 3 of the red cards. First we have Uncaged Fury, not much of a constructed card, pretty expensive for what it does and also pretty niche for the effect in constructed. But even in limited I think the card is quite clunky, and situational 3 is just a whole lot. Maybe it can be okay and like an aggressive deck as a one-off, but all in all doesn't seem super exciting to me. Next we have Unchained Berserker. Another sort of color hoser, this time a 2-cost 1/1 with protection from white, and yeah, it gets +2/+0 as long as it's attacking. Seems like technically an interesting card as a sideboard option in like mono red for example, but mono white is already kind of a good matchup and you have Chain Whirler and stuff, although it also lines up fairly well against say Teferi and stuff, but all in all not sure how useful it's gonna be in constructed. And in limited, I mean, it's basically a 1/1 on defense and a 3/1 on offense. Has no evasion. Protection from white does only so much. So outside of like sideboards in limited, this doesn't seem very great. Could be an okay main deck option in an aggressive deck maybe, I guess. Next we have Act of Treason. Well, Act of Treason, old hat, kind of does what it always did. With some sack outlets or in a very aggressive deck, it seems like a decent limited card, and in constructed it's a fringe sideboard card. Next we have Chandra's Amber Cat, another solid elemental, 2-cost 2/2, nothing exciting here, but the fact that it ramps into other elementals and Chandras is pretty nice, especially in a color like red where you usually don't have access to this, and at a decent body. So yeah, seems like a pretty nice limited 2-drop here, and in constructed, probably better. There are probably better elemental options ultimately. And then we have Chandra's Outrage. Limited staple is back. Great removal, great synergy with stuff like Chandra's Spitfire. In constructed, obviously too expensive and too weak. Then we have Dagger Sail Aeronaut. In limited, all in all pretty decent. Like on defense, it's not great because it has sorry about that. It has poor stats for 3/2, and the flying only matters on offense, but all in all a decent offensive creature, better than the usual like ManuS type 3/2s for 4 that we've seen in the past, although by now they more often have been 3-cost. So yeah, seems like a solid 4-drop in limited in an aggressive deck. Not exciting, but solid. Next we have Destructive Digger, your typical like 3-cost 3/2 in limited with a bit of an upside. It lets you sacrifice an artifact or a land to draw a card in the late game, which is nice and can come in handy. It's not great, but it's a fine filler, I think. Now we have Fire Elemental, a bit better in this set because it's an elemental, but otherwise still just same old Fire Elemental. Fine filler, but nothing exciting. Then we have Goblin Bird Grabber, a 2-cost 2/1, which is a bit underwhelming. 1 toughness on a 2-drop is meh, but the fact that it can latch onto a flyer to have flying itself is pretty powerful. So if your deck has a bunch of flyers, like for example in a Boros deck with a couple of white flyers, this can go from meh 2-drop to a pretty good aggressive evasive 2-drop. So yeah, contextually it seems pretty strong actually. And last but not least for part 3 we have Goblin Smuggler, a 3-cost 2/2 haste. Yeah, not that great. Stats are underwhelming, but the ability gives you some reach for your aggressive decks. Another target creature with power 2 or less. Can't be blocked this turn, so giving you some way to close out the game. So I guess 1 seems like a solid option in an aggressive deck in limited like Boros. And that concludes part 3 of the red cards. I'll be back in a moment with the last 11 red cards in part 4. So see you in a moment.